Hey guys, James here again with another video, and today I want to talk about Millennia, an upcoming historical 4X game published by Paradox Interactive. I just wanted to get some thoughts down and discuss my impressions based on the demo which came out last week as part of the Steam Next Fest. I actually heard that access to the demo got extended by a week, so this is the perfect opportunity for you to try it out if you're intrigued by any of the things that I mention here. Of course, a quick preface, this was all based on limited playtime and a 60-turn demo, which I think in Civ terms takes you somewhere into like the classical age or so. So there's a lot I likely don't know or fully understand yet. But enough dilly-dallying, let's jump into Millennia. So, right off the bat, something you'll notice is that unlike Civ, which has unique abilities and units for each Civ, here, each nation seems to be more or less the same, and selecting a nation is more for flavor and naming. Instead, you can select from a number of starting bonuses which can change up your early game and strategies. I don't have any issues with this personally, but in some ways, it does make the game lack some of the personality that some other games have. A lot of the early game is pretty much in line with what you've seen in Civ and all 4X games really. You explore different landmarks, try to find tribal camps, defeat barbarians, meet other nations, you know the gist. One area that I really liked was the region management and how it feels to build up your territory. Like in Civ, you gain population by having food surpluses and later on housing. You can then assign your population to work tiles which have their own natural yields. Unlike Civ though, where you can make improvements through builders, here you accumulate improvement points which allow you to place down tile improvements instantly. What I like about how improvements work here is how different improvements build on and synergize with each other. So for example, forest tiles naturally provide 1 food and 1 production to your region. If you get enough improvement points, you'll then be able to build a forester on those tiles, which changes the output to 1 log, which in turn translates to 2 production per turn. If your city can get to 3 logs, you can then capitalize by creating a sawmill, which converts each log into lumber, increasing it from 2 production per log to 4 production per lumber. The same concept exists for a bunch of different tiles and resources, and I think this system does a few things. First, it makes every region feel more unique and impacted by what is in the area. One region might become the population center from which people emigrate, while another region might be the production powerhouse of your nation. To me, it also makes you think about city placement a bit differently. Since the input requirements for some of the later improvements can be a bit high, you're going to want to make sure that the area you claim will be able to provide what you need. I think it'd maybe be nice to have a way to move products between your regions though, in case you might not have enough to meet the input of an improvement in one specific area. I also like the more, I guess, slow-paced and natural approach to territory expansion. While you can build settlers, new lands you settle will start off as vassals who contribute a bit of their outputs to you. It takes a bit of time before you'll be able to then incorporate those areas into your territory and manage them directly. You can also use envoys to vassalize neutral third-party regions, or you can also take those lands the good old-fashioned way. I think some people may not love this approach, but I guess what I liked about it is how, to me, it seems more realistic with how city-states, nations, and peoples developed and assimilated with or subjugated to other groups. One of the other systems I really enjoyed was the domain system. Basically, every empire has different domain areas that develop over time based on your actions and what you build. When you get enough experience points in a domain, you then get to spend that experience on a power. So, for example, you accumulate government XP naturally every turn. Bank up enough and you can spend those points on things like upgrading your government, creating a new settler, or raising a military unit. There are domains for different aspects of your nation including exploration, warfare, diplomacy, and more. Each of these domains has different ways to build up points and different powers which you can then spend on. What I like about domains is how, in conjunction with national spirits, which I'll detail in a bit, you can make every empire you build feel a little bit different based on the domains you excel at. This makes it so that the actions and choices you make and things you build will help craft the identity of your people. Another thing I like about domains is how it gives you an alternate way of producing things. Instead of only being able to produce from your region's production, you can now supplement your armies and development through these domain powers. Next, I want to talk about research and ages, which I think was one of the big selling points in their initial promotions. The tech tree in Millennia is massively simplified. Instead of a full tech tree with different prerequisites and whatnot, in each age you can select from a number of available techs. Once you research 3 techs, you can then begin investing your research into progressing into the next age. You don't have to immediately start progressing after 3 techs, but if needed, you can always go back and research a tech from a previous age. Each age has different traits, bonuses, and scenarios which define that age. In the demo, the first 2 ages, the Age of Stone and the Age of Bronze, are referred to as standard ages, and these play out fairly normally overall. The third age is where things get really interesting. When progressing into the third age, there are 3 possible ages that the world may enter. The Age of Iron is the standard third age that becomes available and has no prerequisites. Then you have the Age of Heroes. In order to enter the Age of Heroes, you must have discovered 3 landmarks on the map. In the Age of Heroes, you're then able to spawn heroes who can go around the map fighting monsters and exploring the world. There's also the Age of Blood. In order to enter the Age of Blood, you must have killed 6 units from other nations. In the Age of Blood, everyone is in a perpetual state of war, and barbarians are far more aggressive. I really like the concept of the ages and how different and defined the eras feel. You also have different technologies available in different ages, and I'm curious to see how things unlocked in different ages build into each other in the long run. This can also increase replayability as you try and see different combinations of ages. The only thing about ages that I won't say I dislike, but rather I'm wondering how it'll play out in the actual game, is the fact that the age you enter is defined by the first nation to complete researching the next age. This means even if you meet the prerequisites, you may still be at the whim of another player who happened to progress slightly quicker than you. This can make knowledge, the resource for research, feel pretty important. I'm hoping in the full release we'll see CPU selecting alternate ages a little more often. Every few ages you'll be able to select a national spirit. This is essentially a way of choosing the type of culture your nation has. These national spirits are tied into different domains, and with the XP you earn, you can upgrade your national spirit further. While I do have to question how balanced these national spirits are, I will say that overall I really like the system because, again, to me it helps you define who you are and how your empire feels to play. Combat in Millennia is quite different from Civ 6 and is maybe a bit more reminiscent of Civ 4 actually. Instead of units taking up single tiles, in Millennia you can combine multiple different units into an army. Different units will have different stats and advantages over others, so having the right combinations can be pretty important. That army can then move together, and when you engage an enemy, you get to watch the battle play out in this janky animation, which isn't really that great, but can be pretty endearing. I think the combat is pretty fun and can offer some complexity. Finally, in terms of gameplay, I just want to touch upon diplomacy. Each CPU nation will have a type which dictates their playstyle and how they might interact with you. This is alright, but I still do feel like the nations are lacking a bit in overall personality and recognizability. While I do like the simplified diplomatic interactions, and in particular I like how you can declare hostilities in neutral areas, I do however find myself feeling like diplomacy is just lacking that little bit of oomph. However, I'll fully admit that this could be because I spent more of my time trying to understand the gameplay mechanics rather than trying to worry about the CPUs. So I'd say take my thoughts with a grain of salt. With regards to some of the technical stuff, I will say that overall, while the UI can feel a bit busy, I actually did find it quite easy to understand and navigate. I also really like some of the little things, like how it shows a view of your region when you're in the production screen. I will say though, my least favorite part of the game is probably the graphics. While graphics aren't really a big deal for me, I do have to say that I don't think it looks that great, especially when you compare it against some of the other games that are out there now. Add in some of the cursed combat animations and I can see some people being turned off from the game. So, is Millennia going to be a Civ killer? Honestly, I'd say probably not, although that's not necessarily through any fault of Millennia itself. But I definitely think there are some cool ideas here, and I'm definitely intrigued and will be interested in playing more in the future. But yeah, I'd say those are my overall thoughts from playing the demo. I'd love to hear from you though. Have you tried it, and what'd you think? And as usual, thank you if you made it this far. If you enjoyed, please consider clicking some of those buttons, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.